Hey curlies, welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, I am going to show you how I get ready for my latest pop-up shop. This one was a bit different because we had another market going on beside us and there was definitely some interesting costumes going on. I'm not sure if it was a medieval festival or something like that, so a little bit different. But I just dropped off my car and I'm just heading back to the market now, and I'm just enjoying the scenery before I get there. This was at Greenwich at the old Royal Navy College. Beautiful grounds. Here's some of the outfits I was talking to you about earlier. It was definitely different. It was interesting. I didn't really stay around much because I had to go back to my stall, but that's some of the things that were going on. They had their tents, they were cooking different bits and pieces. I'm not entirely sure what was going on, but I had a quick look and that's what it was. So I headed back over to our yellow tents. That's where we were, right next to the Uber boat. Beautiful, beautiful scenery again. I just thought I'd take 5 before we started off with the market. This was a really hot day, might add. So hot. I had ice water, I had my fan going the whole time. Super hot, but a beautiful day. And here are all the other market stalls beginning to set up. Some people hadn't arrived yet. I think it was still a little bit early, but I'd rather arrive early to a pop-up just so it gives me time to set things up and get the day going. So first of all, I'd kind of started doing a setup already, and then I thought, oh my gosh, guys, let me grab the camera quick so you guys can see how I set up for a pop-up. So I'd already put some of the mist spray bottles up on their stands, and now I'm just going on to set up our scrunchy pegboard. This, if some of you guys have watched our previous videos, you'll know that this actually snapped at one of my last pop-ups. I got some wood glue and I put it back together because I was like, no, I only used this once or twice before, and I was like, I'm not buying another one, so this better work and it better, you know, I better be able to fix it. So fortunately I was able to fix it. It was just one of the legs, and I think it's actually this one I'm putting on, so it was a little bit stiff because of where the glue had put it together, bound it together, but it worked. So now you'll just see me getting ready to set up my peg inputs to put on my scrunchies. I like to put them in different angles on the board just so they don't squash each other and that each scrunchie can be seen. So yeah, see how I set them out. So I normally bring a variety of scrunchies to any pop-up. This includes our medium scrunchies and our newer XL scrunchies. So I try to kind of put them so the XLs are at the bottom just because they're a bit chunkier. And then the mediums are towards the top, and I try to colour code them the best I can. But I feel like the scrunchies are always a good hit at a pop-up. Who loves a scrunchie? Comment down below, what colour is your favourite colour in a scrunchie? I actually had somebody ask me, I think somebody asked me for purple during this pop-up. I don't have purple. I've gone for more of the neutrals really, but at that pop-up someone did actually ask me if I had a purple, to which I unfortunately had to say I don't, but they still bought a scrunchie anyway. They bought another colour. So normally when I do pop-ups, I do have different people to come and help me. Fortunately, again today I had someone to come and help me with this pop-up. Even though I have help, I think it's because in my mind I know the way I want it set up, so it almost feels easier for me to just do it by myself. But later on I did delegate, as I was asked if there was anywhere I needed particular help, and I did end up delegating. But yeah, I do end up getting on with it myself, and I don't know if this is a strength or a weakness of mine. Probably a little bit of both, but I did manage to allow help as time went on. It's just certain things I'm like, oh, I know the way I want it, and I'm only going to end up doing it all over again. So if you've seen in my previous videos, you would have seen a stock check of all the things I was going to bring. I think for each scrunchie, well, the mediums anyway, I brought 6, and the XLs, I think they varied in the quantity just because some of them had already gone. As you can see, this board can become a little bit fiddly. You know the top of the scrunchie, the tag, I wish I made the hole bigger so they could have just slotted on. And a lot of customers come by and they try to put it on and I'm like, oh, it ain't really going to fit. Because I just put it through the scrunchie hole itself, it just makes it a whole lot easier. So yeah, if you want to see the quantity of stock that I brought to this pop-up, please go and check out our previous video where we will run through all of our stock for our online and for our pop-up shop. You'll see later in the video that not all the scrunchies that I bring, I lay out. These are normally just back stock, just in case I leave them in the suitcase and I can replenish as I go along, just because I don't want massive gaps, but also because some people, I do allow them to mix and match in the bundles. It's a lot easier to be able to do that in person, so I can have that option available to them and I just keep the backup stock in the suitcase. So I'm going to continue grabbing more and more scrunchies. These are some of our best sellers. People do love scrunchies and I think they're just a good add-on. So I do try to lay them out just so people can have a closer look rather than pulling them all off, just because I think when they're on this stand, people can see them a bit better. So I do try to set them up in a different way. So this is just my scrunchie stand. This was actually the first stand that I had actually got, and then I went onto the pegboard afterwards, and it's simply because I added so many scrunchies to the clip that I ended up needing more of a way to set this up. As you can see there, I did delegate. I handed something over for setup. So yeah, anyway, this is just the way I like to set up the scrunchies. I colour code them. We have, I think, I always forget, I feel like it's 6 medium scrunchies and then 3 XLs. So overall, what was my thoughts on this market? In all honesty, I feel like because there was so much going on that day, I think that it didn't help with sales. This wasn't the best day for sales, if I'm being totally honest. I think having that medieval festival in the background, and then what you don't see on this particular camera shot is that there's also a bit of like a food festival going on the other side. So it just felt like there was so much going on this day. Also, it was extremely hot, and at the time, at the beginning of the day, I was really excited by the fact it was hot, because I thought this would mean more people would be out, they'd want to be shopping. But I think we got the adverse effect of people just being so hot that they just had enough. And I think the only thing that people were interested in that day was fruit and drink and ice cream, and I think just when it came to anything else, it wasn't the best day. I feel like you need the happy medium, and I think that today we just got too much of an extreme in terms of weather. So I think this wasn't my most successful market, but I always enjoy coming out anyway, just because I think seeing people in person, I can explain things so much better. You all ask me so many questions, I think especially about our curly caps. People seem to love this. I explain it, I'm wearing it during the day, as you'll see later. And I think because people get me describing what the function of the curly cap is, saying it's a half cap, it's satin lined, it allows for bigger puffs, we've got the full cap, I think it engages people a lot more. So I just genuinely find it easier to do things in person rather than doing things online. I don't think you get the personal approach, and I think that helps. So in any great market, I always bring a satin pillowcase. The reason I do this yet again is because people get to feel it. It was really interesting during this market. One of our lovely customers did buy 2. She was with her partner, and I did say, oh, is it for his and hers? And she said, no, they're both for her, which I don't blame her. Get yourself 2 and enjoy. But she said that she'd felt some before and they didn't have a nice texture to them. And she also said that there was some, yeah, guys, I had to stop, sorry, just because every time these bottles fall over, admittedly this time was my fault because I was trying to move the table and then it just fell. Normally there's wind and bottles are flying everywhere, which is really annoying. I feel like I need, what I'm trying to look for is a stand with a back into it so it holds the bottles up more. I need to look for this. And here, I didn't even realise when I was doing this, I was setting up a display and I even picked up the wrong card. I don't even know how I did this. It's only after I went to set it up and then I realised this isn't the card I even want. Look, you'll see me here. I'm like, no, not the right one. come back. Yep, that's the card I wanted. Fill our satin lining. So I put that in front so people know the cats are satin lined, and then they're more prone to touch it and understand what they are, just because on first glance you can't tell. Anyway, I went on a bit of a tangent there. Sorry. What I was essentially telling you was one of our customers, she bought herself 2 pillowcases, and she was saying that often when she's bought them before, the texture doesn't feel right. Often there's been an issue of how long they've lasted. I don't think the material's great. So she had a feel of ours. She really liked the texture. We actually had a deal on satin pillowcases during the day. You just saw the sign there, and she loved it. And she kind of asked if how long they've lasted for me, and I personally have found mine last quite a while. And that's just me being completely honest. I've had mine for a few years and I haven't had an issue. So she bought 2 and I hope she enjoys. Just missed it, but I will just go back just to say that we did have that spinning wheel that I showed just in the clip before, but I didn't actually use it. I was thinking about it, but I was like, there's too many deals going on, so I just stuck to the ones that I had on the satin pillowcases. I didn't want to give too many options today because it becomes a bit overwhelming. When I'm doing any market, I do put my suitcase underneath the table just because it's not very attractive for people going past to just see all my stock, but I want it in a place where I can easily grab it. And I also got persuaded to put up our satin lined hoodies. I was told that it's better to put it up than not, even though it was super hot outside and I was like, I'm not sure, but I did put it up. And here is me with my satin lined cap because I've got to represent. But it's also a great way for you curlies to see what the cap looks like on. And here is the table set up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What would you like to see in the future from Ashanti Girls? Thanks for watching, curlies.